Hi, I'm Catherine Austin, and welcome to Living Karma Yoga. This is a show where we celebrate all that the yoga world has to offer, from the postures to music, mantra, meditation, travel, cooking, and so much more. Yoga for 1 hour just isn't enough in today's busy world, so we want to help you take your yoga off the mat and into your life as well. I hope you find here many tools to help you live the life you deserve. And that's a life where you can literally vibrate love, joy, fulfillment, and abundance in all forms. So this morning's guest is Chris Briney, and he's one of our teachers at Karma Yoga in Bloomfield Hills. And he's now teaching at this type in his career, Lyengar Yoga. So Chris is going to tell us about his journey a little bit, and it's similar to mine where it's changed over time and as we've evolved and grown. And so we don't have a lot of time because we're going to get to a class soon with you, but welcome. So glad you're here.
Thank you for having me.
And I know that I met you in 2000, we think about two, we were both teaching, and we were both kind of starting in Ashtanga. Tell us about a little bit your journey, how you moved into Lyengar.
Yeah, well, I'll keep it brief, but it's something I did not expect that I would be an Lyengar yoga teacher. Initially, I started practicing in 1997, and for several years was studying Ashtanga yoga, went to Colorado, California to study with teachers there, and I felt like I had found, my practice, and I never changed in that feeling. It just so happened that my first teacher started teaching Anusara yoga and said, hey, you should come experience this, and I loved that teacher. We were friends, so I experienced that and then found this whole other world opened up. And actually, when I was studying Ashtanga yoga, I lived in Washington, a few minutes bike ride from an Lyengar yoga studio, and wouldn't go. I would drive an hour and a half to Seattle to study Ashtanga yoga.
Oh, wow.
And ironically enough, that very same studio, I flew across the country to do my certification test at. So it's just been it's kind of like it would only happen in yoga.
It was pulling you there no matter what.
Yeah, so I wouldn't bike 10 minutes, but then some years later, 7 or 8 years later, I flew across the country to take my test to become a certified teacher there. So, yeah.
So a lot of our students will look at the schedule and they're like, what is this word? We don't know what it means. And we try really hard in the description to explain it. But could you tell us a little bit about maybe what attracted you to Lyengar yoga, whether it was Mr. Lyengar himself or a little bit about his journey, and then what the practice is like?
Yeah. Not knowing much about it, like I said, I had no interest. And the word Lyengar is named after this man, BKS Lyengar, who is, I don't know what to say. He's really a yogic hero in a lot of ways. He's 96. He's practiced since he was 16.
Wow.
And at a depth that few people can manage. And that's really is what drew me to it. I mean, I'd heard things about him. I heard he was like not a nice guy. He hit people, and it was this rigid form. But as I looked more into it, and for me, even the Anusara yoga, I've discovered, it had a lot of roots in Lyengar yoga. And many of the things that I was learning in Anusara yoga, I came to see. I mean, John Friend himself was an Lyengar yoga teacher.
Right.
So as I was discovering that more and more, I started to look more and more into Iyengar's teachings and his vast writings, and just what I found there was something that really spoke to me personally in terms of the authenticity and the depth to which he practiced.
Did the teachings, when you started to study with him, did they feel like oddly familiar, like you've been with this before, perhaps, like maybe a past lifetime thing, or did it feel like a real connection, like this is like I've come home?
I don't know about that. It's sort of, I was like, no, this isn't me, this isn't me, this isn't me. Oh, this is me. So it kind of, but that was probably more just conditioning. But I would say now it just feels something really true to me. And I don't know about past life connections, but he keeps coming to me in my dreams. So,
yeah, there you go. So Lyengar, I think I remember reading, the yoga really helped him with some childhood illnesses or some physical limitations or something? Is that how he used yoga?
Yeah, it essentially saved his life. He was not expected to live past 20. Like, I mean, his mother had the Spanish flu when he was in utero, which was very fatal for most people. He had tuberculosis, typhoid fever, malaria, all before he was like 10 years old. And the story I've heard is his family, being a poor family, would actually keep food for the other 8 children or 9 children because they didn't expect him to live.
Oh,
there was only so much to go around. So he met his brother-in-law, or started working with him to try and improve his health. And you know, I think that also is why he has been so devoted to it in his life. Is, you know, he not only lived past 20, but he's 96 and still practicing. And
so does Lyengar yoga do a lot of therapeutic help for people as well in yoga?
That's kind of a separate distinction, but it is well known for that. And largely it's just because now at 96, and often he says when he first started teaching, he would have a lot of people with ailments, and so he felt obligated to learn to help them. So the therapeutic aspect is a distinct aspect, but it's also a very dynamic practice of yoga and a spiritual path. But it's often seen, because it is so effective therapeutically, as a therapeutic practice.
And really all yoga is therapeutic. It's this amazing practice for people.
Yeah.
So he's still living in India.
Yeah.
Who did you study directly with, him or his senior teachers? Or
his senior teacher, actually this summer in about 16 days, I'm going to go to the institute there that he sort of lords over it, but his children, Geeta and Prashant, run the studio, or the institute. So I'm going to travel to Pune, India for the first time. So exciting. Yeah, that's for sure a dream come true.
And what's that training going to be like?
From what I can tell, it's like 6 days a week of practice.
Wow.
Mostly with his son and daughter as the class leaders. But the interesting thing to me is you have your classes and then this chunk of time practice hours. And from what I understand, he's ubiquitous in the studio in the space during practice hours.
Nice.
And then library time, where he often writes. So it'll be just pretty much all day at the institute.
And how long will you be there?
I'll study the entire month of July.
Okay. So. Any other traveling around India while you're there? Or?
Maybe. I have a few days on either end, but it really is like it's not so much a tourist trip for me. It's like I want to study, but there are a couple other places I'd like to get to.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So tell us about, we have just a couple minutes left, how Lyengar, our classes at Karma, we have one on Thursday and one on Saturdays. How are they available for different levels of students?
Yeah. So Thursday is a more upper level class, level 2 to 3, and the understanding about that is you have some willingness to work on maybe more difficult postures, particularly the inversions. So as a student, you would be trained in standing postures, seated postures, to develop a certain stability to where you could start practicing the inversions.
Right.
In the upper level class, that's something that we go right at.
Okay.
Headstand, shoulder stand, handstand.
So you definitely need a little bit of experience on the mat for that.
Need some experience, yeah. And certainly willingness, but not only just willingness to throw yourself at it, but willingness to really understand safe technique.
Correct.
So the all levels class is really designed, as teachers, we're expected, and with each level of certification there are 13 or something, I don't know. But we're expected to be able to handle certain problems, knee trouble, back trouble, neck problems. In the class, you'll see the use of props to some extent.
Right, I like that.
And that's something we do in the all levels class. So it really is available for any person.
Okay.
Not easy, but attainable.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you just said 13 levels of certification to be an Lyengar teacher?
There are
13.
Of Lyengar teachers. So I'm like the introductory level, and then there are 12 additional levels of certification.
Oh my gosh, that's a whole other segment. Because I know like Patricia Walden has been around a long time. She must be like level 13 or
She's one of the top 2 in the world.
I took a backbend class with her. I was never the same. Oh my goodness.
I'm sure, yeah.
All right, well we have to wrap it up because Chris is going to take us through a brief class, so I'm really excited about that. So just take a break, get a drink of water, and join us in just a few moments, and we'll begin. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Thanks, Catherine. All right, welcome to our Lyengar Yoga demonstrated teaching, demonstrated practice, and my name's Chris Briney. I'm excited to have with me two students, Tracy Briney and Jim Stanislaw. And the reason I've actually chosen these students is because Tracy is a very characteristic yoga student. Many are women, younger, flexible. You'll see Tracy or someone like her on the cover of Yoga Journal. Jim is someone much more rare in a yoga class. We don't often have males. We don't often have males that are above 40. And both are seasoned, strong students. And my aim is for you to actually discover how this practice really is for anybody. So if you would, take your seats. And at home, you're certainly welcome to join in. I would invite you to refrain from the inversion we'll do as they're well-trained in doing the inversion, but for the beginning, you're welcome to join in. All right, so sit tall, please. And we begin as you raise your chest, close your eyes, remembering that the true aim of yoga is, as Mr. Lyengar says, freedom and a state of exuberance of being. The byproducts are health and physical firmness, emotional stability. Fold your palms at the center of the chest. So what we are seeking to bring into focus through actions, in many ways the postures are like cameras, camera lenses. We take actions that bring our being into greater focus, that bring our connection between mind and matter into clearer focus. So here, as you're sitting, raise your chest, take your shoulders down and back, draw your abdomen back, and stretch right up through the crown of the head. Sit straight. And we'll begin with a short invocation to the sage Patanjali, which we'll do in unison. So exhale completely, and then take a full inhalation. Yogena chittasya padena vacham malam sharirasya chavaidhyakena yopa karotam pravaram muninam patanjalim pranjaliranatosmi abahu purushakaram shankachakra siddharinam Sahasra shirasam shvetam pranamami patanjalim harihi om. Raising up well through your chest, bow your head forward and down. Take your hands to your thighs, raise up your face, and open the eyes. So now turn to the right, we'll take Parshva Swastikasana. So as you exhale, fold over the right leg. Swastika means auspicious. Swastikasana is the auspicious pose. So you're seated here to keep your outer left hip anchored as you extend to the right. And then inhale and come up. Turn your abdomen and trunk to the left. See that both sides of the trunk are even. And then exhale and fold. As you fold, resist the tendency of your left ribs to shrink into the body, but broaden your bottom left ribs outward, upward. On the exhalation, sink a bit deeper. And with an inhalation, come up. And then exhale, extend down the middle. So we distinguish between movement and action a lot in Iyengar yoga, very much distinct. Movement is point A to point B. So you've brought yourself forward and down. Now find action within that. So draw your inner thighs back and broaden the buttock bones, broaden the buttock muscles sideways. And from that depth in the inner thighs and groins, lengthen the spine, lengthen the front of the spine. See how the awareness unfolds as you do that. And then inhale, come up. Okay, come forward over your feet and come to all fours. You can move your blankets off to the side. All right. From here, with your arms firm, turn your toes under, raise your knees, and draw back to downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. See that the palms are spread wide on the floor, the elbows are firm, and press the tops of the thighs up and back to lengthen the spine. Let your breath be calm and steady. Now at the top of the inhalation, bend your knees and look forward. And then as you exhale, step forward and come to a standing forward bend. So fingertips to the floor. Draw up the thigh muscles, inner thighs especially. Draw down the spine, relax your head and neck, and perceive that the firmness of the legs matches the sense of releasing downward through the spine out of the hips. So you draw the legs actively, strongly upward, but surrender the spine toward the floor. Then inhale, extend your chest forward, making the back concave. Reach forward your sternum. And exhale, bring the hands to your hips. Take your shoulders back, move the shoulder blades onto the back, and raising the chest, come all the way up. Keep your abdomen back as you come up. Great. Face, if you would, turn to your right, stand in the center of your mat. And with your legs firmly together, raise your chest. This is called Samastiti. It's the quintessential standing pose. Bring the arms in across the front of the body. Now we'll take Utthita Trikonasana. Step or jump your feet wide. Keep the feet pointing forward, your arms level with your shoulders. And extend through both elbows and all the fingers. Turn your left foot in, 10 or 15 degrees. Revolve the right leg open. Tighten the kneecaps as you inhale. And then exhaling, move your hips to the left. Take your spine to the right. And take your fingertips toward the floor. So one thing we'll often use in Iyengar yoga are props. So in Tracy's case, the fingers come to the floor. In Jim's case, not quite. But so we'll bring the floor to him. But in both cases, you can see there's still the same dynamic movement. The injection of the right leg up into the hip and this extension along the underside of the ribs. So right hip is coming in and then both arms are upward. So the block allows Jim to not have to distort the pose, and reaching to the floor challenges Tracy a bit more in the flexibility of her right leg. Press your back heel firmly into the floor, left heel, and with an inhalation come up, continuing to press the left heel. Turn your feet forward, switch to the other side. Turn the right toes in, revolve the left leg open. Inhale, raise the chest. Exhale, again take triangle pose to the left. Keep your kneecaps lifted, pulled up, pulled upward. And move your chest forward, your head back. Press your right heel into the floor, and with an inhalation come up, raise the left arm. Turn your feet forward, take the arms in, and join the legs. Okay, another feature, Jim, can I use your mat here for a moment, of the Iyengar yoga practice is the teacher will often demonstrate something they see to correct the pose or enhance its expression. One of the things we're looking for in alignment is the creation of the optimal conditions within the body. That's something that you discover as you practice. So each pose has its own kind of idealized shape and form. It's like a work of art. So what I noticed in both students as they were going to the right is your hips pulled back a bit. So the weight was falling more on the outer edge of your front foot than the inner edge. So this next time, see that the right leg hip stays under and the inner edge of the foot stays pressed down. So rather than here, I keep the hip under, and even visually, your eyes should tell you one has a little more optimal expression than the other. Okay? So once more, and Jim, you can use your block once again. Bring the arms in across the front of the body, separate the legs. Take a good wide stance. Turn your left toes in and revolve the right leg open. So now grip at the top of the right thigh and pull up there, top of the right thigh, and revolve, take your right buttock under. Do that while pressing firmly in your left heel, so left thigh doesn't come forward. Now keep the weight on the inside edge of your right foot, and exhale, take your triangle pose. So right buttock stays under, that's it. And then Tracy, press your left heel firmly. So as the right buttock comes under, the left thigh should also stay back. Press your outer left heel with an inhalation, come up. Turn your feet forward. And second side. So turn the right foot in, revolve the left leg open. Tighten your kneecaps. Tracy, move your left foot a little more to the left, toward Jim. Exhale, keeping that left hip under, take your triangle pose again. So weight to the inside edge of your left foot. And while resisting the left buttock forward, continue to draw the outer right hip and upper right thigh back. Press your right heel firmly down, and with an inhalation, come all the way up. Great. Turn your feet forward. Take the arms in across the front of the chest, and join the legs. Okay. We'll show one other standing pose. There are a variety of them, so many poses, 200 poses or so. We won't get to them all today. Take extended side angle pose. I'm just going to have you do and describe what you're doing while you go. So go ahead and separate the legs and proceed to side angle pose as and when you're ready. Take the prop as needed, Jim. Okay, so both students, you saw Tracy shortened her stance a little bit. She's adjusting, knowing certain actions that need to take place. Right hip is under. Keep the abdomen back. Notice the whole left side of each student's body is extended in a line. That is the extended side angle. Uttita Parshvakonasana. Press the floor, come up. Turn to the other side. Right toes in, left leg open. And on an exhalation, descend. And both students, you'll notice, are working the same idea as we worked in the first pose, keeping their front hip, that's the bent kneed hip, under, thighs back, ungrip your toe tips, and then come up. Turn the feet forward and join the legs. Another important aspect of Iyengar yoga is the practice of inverted poses. Inverted poses are really seen to be the royalty of the yoga asanas, and their effects are numerous and very beneficial body and mind. So we're going to set up shoulder stand. So both of you know how to set it up. And you'll see how each student adjusts according to his or her capacity. So open those up once more. So I'll help also to keep the class moving forward. So we've stacked some blankets which will protect the neck, and both students have already pre-measured their straps. So Tracy, you'll go this way. Jim, you'll go the other direction. So be on your backs. This one I don't suggest you try at home. You need the guidance of a skilled teacher. All right, so they're on their backs, the shoulders in a little bit from the edge of the blanket. With an exhalation, bring your legs overhead. Work your hands low down your back and use the hands. So I'm going to bring your shoulders back a little bit, Jim. Use your hands to move the flesh of the back upward, then raise your legs. So you can see in a more flexible body, she could bring her feet to the floor. In Jim's case, he was a runner, I know that, for some years, and there's still stiffness in the hamstrings. But both approaches, using the prop of the wall, has allowed them to be in the same presentation. This pose is a quieting pose for the nerves, a stabilizing and settling pose, often done near the end of practice. So I'm going to leave some silence for them to experience the settling in their brain amidst the dynamic upward surging of the legs. So the body's very vital, but the brain becomes quite quiet. All right, bring your feet to the floor or wall and release your belts. There you go. Stretch your arms overhead, bend the knees, and roll carefully outward. Rest your head and chest on the blankets and be there breathing quietly. So for inversions as well as this illustrious practice of Lyengar yoga, you can come see me at Karma Yoga on Thursday morning, 9:30 a.m. for an upper level class and an all levels class on Saturday morning. So I would be grateful to share this art with you. Saturday afternoon, at 4:30 p.m. Thank you. And you now can take Shavasana.
That was a great segment. I really want to thank Chris Briney and his wife Tracy and Jim for joining us today and leading us through that beautiful Lyengar practice. If you like what you see here and you'd love to experience more, come see us at Karma Yoga, www.karma-yoga.net. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.